Imagine two people living at the speed of light in two of the busiest cities on Earth. In Los Angeles, we had Dylan Harper. He's a high-level art director for a small internet startup, the kind of guy who can redesign a multi-million-dollar interface in his sleep but can't seem to stay awake during a conversation about feelings with his girlfriend. At the exact same moment, 3,000 miles away in New York City, we meet Jamie Rallis. She's a corporate headhunter, essentially a professional stalker with a LinkedIn premium account and a killer wardrobe. Both of them are currently in the middle of being dumped. Dylan's girlfriend is screaming at him because he's emotionally distant, and Jamie's boyfriend is telling her she's emotionally unavailable. They both have the same reaction, a cynical shrug. They've seen the movies. They've heard the John Mayer songs. They know the happily ever after trope is a billion-dollar industry built on mice, and they are officially opting out of the system. But the universe has a sense of humor. Jamie is tasked with the impossible, recruiting Dylan to leave his sunny California life to become the art director for Key magazine in New York. Dylan is hesitant. He thinks New York is a loud, gray strass bucket. So, Jamie decides to pull out the big guns. She doesn't take him to a corporate office. She takes him on a late night, this Yule tour of the city's secret spots. They end up on a rooftop overlooking the skyline, and for the first time, Dylan sees the magic Jamie is selling. They have this instant, rapid-fire chemistry. They finish each other's sentences, they mock the same people, and they share a deep-seated hatred for romantic clichés. Dylan takes the job, packs his life into a few boxes, and moves to the Big Apple. Suddenly, the two most cynical people in the city are inseparable best friends. A few weeks pass, and the new city adrenaline starts to wear off. They're hanging out on Jamie's couch, watching a generic rom-com starring Jason Segel and Rashida Jones. They are absolutely tearing it apart, laughing at how unrealistic the grand gesture is. But then, the conversation shifts. They realize they're both attractive, successful, and incredibly frustrated. They miss the physical side of a relationship, but they absolutely loathe the dinner and a movie baggage that comes with it. Dylan, being a designer, tries to re-engineer the concept of dating. He asks the million-dollar question, why can't sex be like a game of tennis? You go to the court, you have a high-intensity workout, you shake hands, and you go home. No how was your day texts. No meeting the parents. No expectations. Jamie is skeptical, but she's also tired of being lonely. To make it official and keep it weird, they find a Bible app on an iPad, place their hands on the screen, and swear a holy oath to remain just friends. They agree that if either of them starts feeling the feels, they have to call it off immediately. It's a perfect, logical, cold-blooded arrangement. What follows is a chaotic, hilarious montage of their new system in action. At first, it's exactly what they wanted. They can be totally honest about what they like and what they don't because there's no fear of being judged by a partner. They go to work, they hang out, they have their tennis match, and they go about their lives. They genuinely believe they've hacked the human heart. They walk through the streets of New York with the smug confidence of two people who have solved a puzzle everyone else is failing at. But, as any biologist will tell you, oxytocin is a powerful drug. The lines start to blur during the small moments. It's the way Dylan helps Jamie navigate her complicated relationship with her flighty, oversharing mother. It's the way Jamie starts to understand Dylan's hidden insecurities. Jamie decides she needs to try dating for real again to prove she isn't hooked on Dylan. She meets a guy named Parker, a pediatric oncologist, literally a saint on paper. Dylan tries to act supportive, but you can see the cracks in his armor. He's annoyed by Parker's perfection. When Parker inevitably turns out to be a jerk who uses his saving children job to pick up women, Jamie is devastated. She doesn't call her mother. She calls Dylan. And Dylan doesn't just show up to be a benefit. He shows up with ice cream and genuine empathy.
The trip to Los Angeles is not just a vacation, it is a collision of two worlds. When Jamie arrives at Dylan's childhood home, the cool, detached New York version of Dylan vanishes. She sees him in his natural habitat. This is a place filled with old photos and childhood trophies and the heavy, quiet reality of his father, Mr. Harper. Mr. Harper is a man whose mind is slowly being erased by Alzheimer's, and the transition is jarring. One moment he is sharp and cracking jokes, and the next he is wandering into the kitchen without his pants, confused about what year it is. Jamie does not recoil, instead she leans in. She helps Dylan's sister Annie with the 4th of July preparations, and she watches Dylan handle his father with a tenderness that completely dismantles her cynical exterior. This is not the guy who makes jokes about tennis matches. This is a man who is terrified of losing his hero. At one point, Dylan's father has a particularly rough episode at the dinner table, and the tension is suffocating. Afterward, Dylan and Jamie retreat to the roof of the house. They sit there in the warm California night as the sound of crickets and distant fireworks fill the air. Dylan starts talking about his childhood. He talks about how his dad used to be the smartest man in any room. He admits that he moved to New York partly to run away from the pain of watching his father disappear. Jamie listens, really listens, and for the first time, they are not performing for each other. They are not trying to be the wittiest people in the room. They end up hiking up to the Hollywood sign, climbing onto the giant metal letters that represent every cinematic cliché they have ever mocked. Looking out over the shimmering grid of Los Angeles, Dylan kisses her. It is not a benefits kiss. It is a desperate, I need you kiss. But then comes the morning after. The sun comes up, and with it the fear returns. Dylan's sister Annie catches him in the kitchen and asks the question they have both been avoiding. She asks if Jamie is the one. Dylan is paralyzed by the thought of being vulnerable. He is terrified that Jamie might not feel the same way, so he retreats into his shell. He scoffs, telling Annie that Jamie is emotionally damaged and that they are just distracting each other. He says it is nothing serious, just a New York fling. He does not realize Jamie is standing right behind the door. The silence that follows is devastating. Jamie does not cause a scene. She does not scream. She just quietly packs her bags, catches the earliest flight back to JFK, and disappears. The flight back is 6 hours of agonizing reflection. She looks out the window at the clouds, realizing she broke her own rule. She let herself care. She settles back into her New York life, but the city feels colder. She goes on dates with guys who are fine, but they are not Dylan. She ignores his calls and deletes his texts, and buries herself in work, trying to convince herself that she is better off alone. Meanwhile, Dylan is losing his mind. He is back at GQ sitting in high-level meetings, but he is staring at blank pages. He goes to a restaurant with his father during a brief visit to the city. His father has a moment of crystalline clarity. It is one of those rare up days where the Alzheimer's retreats. He notices Dylan's misery and asks about Jamie. When Dylan tries to give his usual cynical speech about how relationships are a trap, his father stops him. He tells Dylan about a woman he loved before he met Dylan's mother. He tells him about a woman he let go because he was too proud to admit he was wrong. He looks Dylan in the eye and tells him that pride is a very lonely companion. That's the lightning bolt. Dylan realizes he has been so busy trying not to be a character in a movie that he forgot how to be a human being. He knows Jamie will not answer a text. He knows flowers will not work. He has to do something so big and so undeniably rom-com that she has no choice but to listen. He spends days coordinating. He reaches out to a dance troupe and he secures a permit. And he waits. Jamie is walking through Grand Central Station, her mind a million miles away, when suddenly the music starts. It is Closing Time by Semisonic, which is a song they once joked about. One person starts dancing, then 10, then 50. It is a massive synchronized flash mob right in the middle of the terminal. Jamie stops annoyed, thinking it is just another New York annoyance. But then the dancers part, and there stands Dylan. He does not have a boombox over his head, and he is not crying. He looks nervous. He approaches her as the music fades out and the crowded station goes quiet. He tells her that he is an idiot. He tells her that he is terrified of being damaged too, but he would rather be damaged with her than perfect without her. He admits that the benefits were just an excuse to spend every second with his favorite person.